We are always busy, right? Most of us are always busy and we have our own schedule, family, do things differently. Always have that time for the people who you are connected with, right? Phone calls, so messaging them, right? Just having communication. This is always meaningful, right? And this is always help, and they appreciate that.
Welcome to the UMGC podcast, Unstoppable Stories, with your host, Nathan James.
Hello, everybody. Yes, I'm here with Ben Thapa. Ben is a systems engineer, is a UMGC grad, graduated with his bachelor's and his master's degree here. Actually, the master's was earned back in 1999. So happy to have you here with us. He is also a lover of golf, a golf enthusiast, and of travel. So we're going to jump into all of that. But first of all, Ben, thank you for being here and making time.
Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Ben. Wow. So, okay. I want to start with this. Obviously, you have a passion for golf. You're an avid golfer, but you've combined that as well with traveling across the country, even across the world as you golf, right? If you could, you've traveled, I believe you said you've golfed in all 50 states. Is that correct? Could you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I love traveling, right? From the very young age, I traveled in Nepal. So that continued when I moved to States in 1989. So I did starting with the 2011 through 2019. I traveled to all 50 U.S. capitals, as well as actually I saw 7 continents, right? So I did. So the passion, like a love of traveling, and so enjoy traveling and the playing. I'm an avid golfer. Enjoy. My first time playing golf was in 1993. Actually, when I was in Florida here with a family vacation or a family reunion, and I just enjoy the walking on the course, seeing the greens, and I'm coming from Nepal, right? So you have a big mountains, all this the greens and white, all the everything. So just an open space. So basically, kind of combination of that. So when I started playing golf and combining the travel, that's how I, started the golf, and that's why my passion is a combination of those. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that sounds amazing. I'm trying to imagine. I played a little bit of golf, but playing with the backdrop of, mountains and the landscape in
Mm.
Nepal, I mean, that's got to be incredible. Nepal, I mean, that's where Mount Everest is, I think, right?
That is correct. And Mount Everest, along with the 8 other highest peaks in the
Yeah.
world. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I can't think of a better place to fall in
Yeah.
love with a sport like golf, right? That's incredible. And okay, were you a kid when you started playing as well, or were you a little bit?
No, I was
Yeah.
not a kid. So
Yeah.
actually, we didn't have a whole lot of golf courses in Nepal, right? So
Oh, okay.
actually,
Yeah.
my very first golf actually started here, in the States, in Florida. So that was so I started in the when I was kind of early 20s, or in teens. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, you were born in Nepal. Now you're in the States. How did that happen? What was the journey to get here?
I had a degree in Nepal from economics, but I always wanted to get a other degree. More of the touring, looking at the future and researching. I thought computer would be the future, and then that's how the journey took me here in terms of it was in 1991. We were living in Tacoma Park, Maryland. We had a small two-story colonial home, and the UMGC, right? So it was just a mile and a half away. And for me, we are working, people. We had job during the day, so being that close to the home, right, for the mile and a half away, and UMBGC, what they did was the great thing about they're looking at all this, giving this the working experience credit for the people. That helped me a lot, right? So getting my degree early. in the earlier than I expected. And also it is a night, right? Night class. So I had all day long, obviously during the day I work, I wouldn't be able to, if there was no night class or UMGC had not offered, I wouldn't be here, right? I wouldn't be getting my education, right? Because I had my family to support, I would be working, right? But the combination of that is allowed me to work in the nighttime and giving me that opportunity with some my work experience, the credit to get me to graduate. So that is all combination. I am very thankful for the UMGC in terms of the great professors, right? They have a great group of lab technicians, right? The lab teachers. So I spend countless hours of hours and hours, and they were always helpful in terms of that, and that's why I am here today because of all their help, support, and obviously as a whole, it's a UMGC as an institute. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. We love the field of software engineering, and IT, and I'm glad we were able to come alongside you, and pursue that because you said even I think back when you were in Nepal, you were very much saw that computers was the
yeah,
future.
yeah,
You had your
yeah,
degree in economics, and then okay, then computers, and so okay, I'm just trying to track your journey here. So you're in Nepal, you get your degree in economics, eventually you come over to stateside, right? And
yeah.
that's where you interact with UMGC. I'm just curious, the journey from across the ocean is never an easy thing. People don't usually do that, oh, just because they want to have fun,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So I'm really interested in like what motivated you to say, okay, I'm gonna leave my home country and I'm actually gonna go, and start a whole new life. I'm also curious about whether your family came with you or whether they stayed back and what that was like too.
Yeah. So I I've always wanted to get the degree, right, in a better field, right, the computer field. So what happened was in the higher education getting in the U.S. is, in terms of compared to Nepal, right? Nepal, so much better. So I had the opportunity to go to school here, right? I did. So the transition was not easy. Definitely, it's not just that because I changed my the academic field, right, from economics to going to computer, right. So um but I'm a structure person, I work hard, right. So from the very beginning, even not just the barrier in terms of the languages, right, but there are other barriers as well. But like I said, I'm a hard worker. I plan what I need to do, and I'm dedicate myself. Like I said, from that almost 10 years, I woke up in the 9 o'clock, sorry, 5 o'clock in the morning, right? I had a job. I was in Maryland, Tacoma Park area, job in Arlington, Virginia, right? So I had to take my wife. We used to have one car. She used to drop me off at the bus stop. Then I went to a train to get to the Metro Center, or then to the Roslyn, Arlington. So every day I did that just because I did undergraduate and graduate, right? They took me lots longer. The reason is, obviously I'm taking just three classes at night, right? So I'm not a full-time student, right? So it took me up for forever, long time, but it was and I used to go directly from the school to the sorry my office to the school. So
Yeah.
I used to come home at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night. So that used to be norm, right? So, but I work hard. And like I said, I'm a structured person, but I always you know look at the end of the tunnel, right? What if I work hard and if I dedicate myself, if I'm everything. So I knew, we can be successful, and that was my vision as always. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So, what was it like for your family seeing you do this? Right. I mean, I'm trying to imagine, okay, if my little brother or if my son decide, okay, he's going to make this journey and he's going to go overseas, he's going to start this life. He's so passionate about the field of computer science. You're learning a new language. What did they think about all of this?
So it was very for them into very hard, right? Meaning in terms of when he thought I was leaving. I also used to be, a big part of when I was in Nepal. I was supporting all the my not just my parents, but also supporting, helping my brothers, and the family overall. And when I left it, it was a kind of shocking for them,
Sure.
but they knew
Sounds
that
like
I
y'all were
was.
very close, like close
Yes,
knit.
very,
Okay.
very. So we're very close.
Mm,
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
And when I left, and for them it was a big, but they knew that I was going. I was always, like I said, I work hard, dedicated person, right? All overall, and they knew that I would do better. They knew that I would not forget them. So because of that, so I also started as soon as I was able to. I started going to Nepal every year, but that didn't happen until I graduated from both the undergraduate, graduate, and also so that it was a hard, but at the same time, so they knew that I would actually help them, support them, and come back to Nepal. So that was a that way it worked out well.
That is wonderful. Now, you talked about visiting them every year, and you worked to that point to be able to do that.
Correct.
So that's great perseverance. Um, I know that at least one point they were able to come overseas to visit you while you were working and studying. I
Yeah,
know you talked about that a little bit. Can
yeah.
you talk more about that for everybody to listen to?
Sure, absolutely. So it was in 1996, right? My
Yeah, yeah.
parents, my parents visited us. They wanted to see their granddaughter. My oldest daughter was born. Monica was born. She was a 1 year old. So they came to see her, and she will also see us.
That's
But at
special.
the same time, they're trying to help, right? Help at anything they were at home. But so when they saw me leaving 5 o'clock in the morning, right, every day, right, going to work, and would not come back. Just every once in a while, I would come back right after work, like 5:30, just for 15 minutes. But most of the time, I would go directly to my school, right? I had a classes, right? The two classes, but we had to take these, 4 times a week, right? At the time, so I would come home around 11 o'clock, right? So when they see me, not just the school for work and school night, 5 o'clock in the morning to 11, and then they saw me us working in doing the laundry, right, cooking and cleaning, all the work around the house, and my dad said, Vinod, this is too hard here in America. So we need to, please come back to Nepal and we can help you. We have people working for us, right? We have cleaning and cooking and doing everything in the house. So we come back to Nepal. We will take care of our granddaughter. We will take care of you, and you will not have to do anything. So that's how he said it. So coming from Nepal, but in response, I said that everybody works hard here, right? We believe, working hard and dedicated ourselves, have that plan, right? We can be successful, right? Nobody here in this country, in the US, we have this luxury to have people working for you. We do everything by ourselves, right? So like I said, cooking, cleaning, doing laundry, everything. And but I also mentioned that because we work hard and do everything ourselves, we dedicate ourselves to do, and so we can be successful. We will, people can be successful. That's what we look for. So he smiled and he said thank you, and so that's how it was for them to come to U.S. to see your son or daughter-in-law working that hard, and they said, it's too hard. Come back to in Nepal. Yeah.
By the way, folks, once again, you're listening to Unstoppable Stories with Ben Thapa. And if you want to hear more stories like Ben's, just remember to like or subscribe to keep the content coming. So, okay, Ben. So, like you explained to your parents, right? Hey, this is hard work, but this is what folks do in this country. I've got these goals. I'm going to continue to go for those goals. So you continue on with your schooling and you're working at a very, intense pace. And eventually, I think you were pursuing your bachelor's degree at that time, if I'm not wrong.
That
So
is correct.
eventually, okay. And so eventually you did, you're with us at UMGC. Eventually you finished your degree. And like you said, you had a great experience, but what did it feel like to finally cross the finish line for your first degree at UMGC after all the work you put in?
Yeah. So this was the very special, right? So I can remember when I finished my degree, very first degree, right? My mother-in-law, and we have all family members just came in my graduation. She was, at that my parents couldn't come from Nepal at the time, but when I graduated, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, everybody there, my mother-in-law was very proud, and I'm also always remember that. Um, so in terms of getting that the degree, and so I once I had that degree, because of that degree, I was able to get my first IT degree, IT job in the field. So that was a
Great.
special for me. Yeah. That was a special, so I was working before, right? I was, but not in the IT, field. But as soon as I got my degree, I landed my first job in the IT field. And yeah, and ever since I've been working for, it's a Fortune 500 company. It's been all over 30 years I have been working. And yeah, so it's even I have been working in the one company, but however, I don't do the same jobs, right? Different fields, system engineering, different parts, different project, right? So it always feels it doesn't feel the same job, right? So different role, different, but it EMGC was a big part of landing my very first IT job. Yeah.
I've looked it up. It was a bachelor's degree in systems analysis and
Yeah.
design, I believe, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So my
96.
undergraduate degree was information system management,
Yep.
and
There it is.
my graduate degree was in computer system management. Yeah, that was in 1999. Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. At 96, you earn your bachelor's degree, which is great. That leads you to your first IT job here in the States. Phenomenal. A lot of folks might say, okay, great. You earned your bachelor's degree. You got
Yeah.
your dream job.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're good to go. You can
Yeah.
kind of coast from there. But you decided to then go ahead for a master's degree, keep it going. Why did you decide to go for the master's degree when you already had your job?
Yeah. So so higher education, still now it is, right? At the time, if you're in a job, you had a better opportunity. That also one of the criteria, they take you to promote you, or give you the other, the jobs, right? They had opportunity, but I also wanted to also finish my master degree. It's not just a so the combination of that, and when I was continuing, when I had the desire to finish, and then yeah, with the mode, and I wanted to continue to finish mine, right? So,
Mm,
yeah, so, and it was for me that it's still harder, but I finished a little earlier than I expected, because I took a little longer class, even in the summertime, and I did, yeah.
yeah, that's phenomenal.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean, that is a big decision to go ahead with your master's degree, especially when you're working full time already, and not only that, but you're also a family man, right? You had at least one child at the
Yeah,
time. I don't know how
at
many
the
kids you have
time.
now. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
At the time I had a 96, I had a one in my Monica, but I had by 99, by graduated second, I had also had two others. So
oh my
I have a
goodness.
three.
So we're
No, yeah.
talking about a rapidly growing
Yeah,
family
yeah, absolutely,
as you're
absolutely.
finishing
Yeah,
out your
yeah,
master's
yeah.
degree.
But I want to
What?
also yeah, and also my thank you for my wife. She was a big, big, big part of it, because I would spend so much time at the library, or lab, or home-based library, and there I
I know
used to
home baked. I've
yeah,
studied
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
It's okay. Here you go. Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um so I spent a lot of time in the library, right, and or the computer lab, and getting all those project done, learning, asking, right. But I also work with a professor if anything there we need to. So I always communicated with them, right? So
Mm.
at the time, yeah. So it was a, and everything I was doing, spending a lot of time in the job, not the job as well, obviously, and but the school. But my wife, she was able to take care of our three young kids. So I always appreciate that, and because of that, that is also very, very helpful. And that's where I am here today as well. Yeah.
And the kids got to see their dad cross
Yeah.
the stage,
Yeah.
right? They may have been pretty little, but they still
Yeah.
saw it.
Yeah.
Wow, and that's
Yeah.
great. I mean,
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of guests that have come on, and even learners and students that I've talked with,
Yeah.
the importance of having a strong support system
Yeah.
always comes up,
Yeah. Yeah.
always comes up. And for
Yeah.
you, your wife
Also,
has been phenomenal, and that's great.
thank you very much. Just want to add one more thing here. So
Sure.
once
Yes.
when we moved in Virginia after I graduated from, right, so I always had a job in Virginia. So I was commute was really bad from every day, like an hour and a half just to come and go to Virginia.
Yeah, traffic is
Yeah.
pretty bad right around that area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Bad.
So,
Mhm.
so as soon as we came here, so had finished my degree, right? And my focus was obviously job and right. But ever since that, I was able to spend time with my kids and doing all the active sports activities and everything. So I was able to do whatever I was not able to do in Maryland when I was in school and job. I was able to do everything. I could spend with my kids time, our kids and going to their sports and helping academically or anything I could do. And I was able to do after I graduated from college. Yeah.
So there was sacrifice with the bachelor's and the master's and solidifying your IT
Correct.
career. But after that master's degree, it opened up plenty of time, right, for you to be the family man that you just described. And on top of that, I think that's when you started visiting your family back in Nepal annually as well. So,
That is correct. Yeah.
wow, that's a big payoff. That's
Yeah.
really special. So, okay, let's circle to the golf and traveling again. What our guests don't know, I mean, what our audience doesn't know quite yet, is that you are an author as well, having written a book actually about your journey and your passion for golf and traveling too. And what's the book called again, Ben?
My golf journey.
Yes, your golf journey.
Yeah.
And so you're an accomplished author as well. But I'm sure your book covers a lot of these themes, but uh, talk about what it's been like to take your passion for golfing all over the country, all over the world, and why you do that.
Okay. So thank you so much. So I started, after the graduate from college, right? And after my kids were a little bit older, right? Then I started in 2011 through 2019. I traveled to all the 50 US capitals, right? The golf, the passion, so I would like to say I enjoy golf. I'm an avid golfer, but having that, also love traveling from the very young age, right? So when I played my first golf with my father-in-law Victor, and also my brother-in-laws Sandy and Jeff, we played first time in the Florida, and then they were very supportive, right? They were very helpful and they're very encouraging, right? So, and I also enjoy walking on the course, like open field, right? Right. So it's same thing coming from Nepal, right? You have a big open space, mountains, trees, and so I felt kind of like a home, right? Or so I enjoyed that. So. And ever since I began enjoy, golf, and then I started playing, and now so I started in 2011 to 2019, all 50 US capitals. I
Wow.
also
In 8
did,
years? Is that about 8 years you did that? 50?
that is correct. 8 years,
Trying to do
yeah,
the
span.
math on that. That's
Yeah,
impressive,
yeah,
but
yeah.
go ahead. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then within that, I also visited when I went to all this capital golf courses. I also visited the Capitol domes, Capitol the buildings in the east state. But I also did in Antarctica, right? So I did. Antarctica is one of the last, meaning the seventh continent. So I was also able to go to Antarctica in 2013, and I was able to play a golf and play another play. There's no golf courses in Antarctica, right? Just the idea have to have needed to have a seven continents. It was in March 2013, March 15th. I was in a prospect point that is one of the landings. And I was able to bring. Had my golf um, clubs, the yellow golf balls, and the glove and everything. So I was able to hit some balls, and I'm able to. So I was that was a special for me. Yeah.
Ben, oh my goodness. Oh, folks, you heard that correct. Just to make sure, we have Ben who golfed in all seven continents, including Antarctica. Yeah, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
sure you did it with gloves.
Yeah.
I mean, that's we
Yeah.
had a student, a learner who was on a previous episode, who said it was so cold that if you in Antarctica, he studied there and with us, and he mentioned that you could even wipe your eyebrow if you weren't careful.
Yeah.
You just wipe your eyebrow because
Yeah.
it would just
Yeah.
come right off. It was pretty much, that's
That.
how cold it was. So I'm trying to imagine
Yeah.
golfing in that temperature must have been something else. I'm sure you won't be forgetting that anytime soon.
No. No way.
Well, I've heard you talk about how the traveling and the golf is very special. And obviously seeing the different, uh, special sites and, like you said, the capitals and the architecture. But you've talked about the relationships you formed around the nation and around the world as well as being extra special. Could you talk? I just want you to give you the mic to talk about that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's not about just my traveling and enjoying playing golf, right? My main passion is to meet people from the different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and that's what I have been doing. That's my passion. That's why I have been doing. So I just to I travel um, 64 countries. Right? So I have traveled to 64 countries, and at four countries. Out of those 64 countries, I did play golf in 50, right? So I'm one of those, just so I'm easy to talk to, right? I'm reach out to people, right? I when I go to golf course and I don't, my main focus is to enjoy the golf, meeting people, right? Talking to them. Not necessarily I need to have a great round, right? I need to
Okay.
that's not what my
Yeah, mindset.
journey is about, right? It's just a meeting that so I I'm just once I'm done with it, and I'm always keep in touch, meaning in terms of that we share contact information, right? I use there's a different, but I use a WhatsApp to keep in touch with all of them, right? Out of 64 countries, I did 50 um, countries I played. I keep in touch with all of them, not just not just the one player, right? There's in a golf usually have a two, three players or four players we need to play. So I keep in touch with all of them, and whenever there's any, so it's my message is my passion is just to meeting and having that connection with the people around the world, learning their culture, learning about the country, right? So after that, I just, and they come here and visit me, right? So it's not just that I'm going there playing, but I invite them all here, right? Same thing like here in the US. Invite all the people here who I played, along with all the countries and outside. So whenever they come, we play here, right? So there's a gentleman, he came from Botswana. Robert was here last year. We played golf here with him, right? And we met families. So it's just a kind of that connection, and even from so just a just to it's not just a playing golf or the playing traveling. It's a more for meeting, having that connection. Yeah.
Uh, oh, that highlights the importance of connection, the importance of not being alone, right? I think recently it was said in America there's a bit of an epidemic of loneliness. right?
Yeah.
And so you actually can use your golf when you're traveling to build incredible connections. And that's what you've
Yeah.
done for many years now, and I'm sure you'll continue to do. Um, Let me ask you this. We can wrap up with this question. If you wanted to uh, give any advice to our listeners about the importance of connecting with others and making space in the busyness of life to do that, for happiness and fulfillment, what would you say?
Just so you know, have always we are always busy, right? Most of us are always busy, and we have our own schedule, family, do things differently. But we should all, right? We should always have that, you know, time for the people who you are connected with, right? Now, you know, we are busy, but some phone calls, right? It's messaging them, right? Just to have it sort of come some about communication, that means a lot, right? So we should always think about that. Let's say, my family, right? My parents or the people who I am. So let's see if I had just we had this in Jamaica. We had this hurricane, and the people are devastated. There's so much going on there, right? I know people there, right? I have played golf with them, right? So I reach out to two, three of them, and I say, hey, just want to make sure you guys are okay. How are things going? All the things, right? So those kind of little things, right? Just having that, just we should always have that time and to get, to communicate with people, have, give them a call, right? Talk to them. So this is always kind of, this is always meaningful, right? And this is always help, and they appreciate that. Yeah.
We're grateful for you, Ben. We're thankful for the time that you have spent with us. This has been fun and really cool. Thank you for this. Thank you. And
Thanks.
audience, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for listening and for watching too. Great to have you. Just remember to like and subscribe to see more Unstoppable stories. Remember also, you can catch up on previous seasons or episodes, okay, on your preferred podcast channel. So until then, we'll see you next time.